We're joined by two very busy women right now, definitely. Secretary of State Diana Duran, thanks very much for coming in. And
thank you for having me.
absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Thanks. Bernalillo County Clerk Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, thanks. Good to see you again as well.
Thanks, Matt.
Let's start a little bit with early voting turnout. Early voting in the past probably 3-4 election cycles really seems to be taking this larger and larger chunk. Will we hit the halfway point statewide, do you think?
Well, let me just, the halfway point statewide in early voting, we have, as you know, Matt, we have 3 more days of early voting.
Sure.
And looking at the numbers this morning, statewide, we have 26% of registered voters have either voted early or actually returned their mailed-in absentee ballots. If you compare that number to what was cast, the total number cast in 2008, that's about 39.6% already of the total number of votes cast in the 2008 election. So it's a good showing. 3 more days, and as Maggie knows, 3 more busy days.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to get pretty much 50. You know, it could be up to 50%. This election cycle this year has been really an interesting, busy one, and it's getting the people out to vote. So it looks like we may get there.
Absolutely. I know both of you. You hear this from the public so often. Oh, you really need to be driving people out there to the polls, and oftentimes it's more up to the candidates than it is up to you. But it's good to see a level of interest. These next 3 days, as the Secretary was saying, really, really busy.
Yeah, they historically are, especially here in Bernalillo County, and I think that voters here in this county especially have really gotten used to early voting. It's become less of a novelty, more of a a convenience, something that they really like to take advantage of. We historically see that really high turnout these last few days, especially. I think people realize, oh, just yesterday I had 2 weeks, and now there's only a couple days left. So this about noon today, we were at about 30% turnout so far in Bernalillo County of all registered voters. So I definitely think we'll get at least half of the voters in through early and absentee prior to Election Day.
Okay. And state law allows now for counting of those as soon as the polls close. Is that right? Or can they be counted prior and then the results released?
We can, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead. It's different depending on the county.
Okay.
That's right.
Different depending on the size of the county, but Maggie can speak to Bernalillo's.
Okay.
We will actually start tabulating the absentee ballots on the Friday the 2nd.
Okay.
And so that's when the process begins. But there's multiple steps to the process. You got to check the ballots in first, separate them out from the envelopes, et cetera, et cetera. The early votes will be tabulated on Election Day, and then we'll have both those early and absentee results ready and posted right at 7 o'clock on Election Day.
And I think it's important just to mention, Matt, that depending on the county, as I mentioned, if it's a smaller county, they don't usually even begin the process until Election Day or maybe the day before that. But no results are ever given out until after the polls close at 7 o'clock. We get people calling in saying, how are they counting ballots before the Election Day? And it's not really counting the votes or showing any results until election night. So it's a whole process that takes place and ends up at the end of the polls closing on 7 o'clock on Tuesday.
Sure, and I remember there was a lot of dialogue when the legislature was going through this, saying, well, how are we going to let people start looking at these ballots already, and it's all going to get out? But it seems to have worked, knock on wood.
It's a process, I think, that works well. I think it works very well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As we look at the rise of voting convenience centers, that's something that nationwide has become more popular. Bernalillo County is doing them as well. Which counties can do them? Which counties do them?
Well, there's a difference here.
Okay.
We have 5 counties in the state of New Mexico who have, on Election Day, will have all voting convenience centers, such as in Bernalillo, where I think you have 69 on Election Day. There are 5 counties that do that, will be doing that Election Day. We have some counties, for instance, my old county in Otero County, in southern New Mexico, Otero County, we call them a hybrid county. They will have, I believe, 4 voting convenience centers, and then they're going to continue to have traditional polling places in the mountain areas and rural New Mexico. It's a little better to keep those polling places in places like Tiburon and Weed, and places where people can go vote close to where they live.
Sure.
So depending on the county, we have a large number that will have either a combination of both, or, for instance, Santa Fe County, their county, it was this decision was made by the county commissioners in each county. It was a local decision. So the commission there decided that, along with the county clerk, that they didn't want the voting convenience centers, so they will have all traditional polling places in Santa Fe County on Election Day. So I've always said, we continue to encourage anyone wanting to vote on election day to first contact your county clerk to find out if you have voting convenience centers in your county. If not, to find out where you can vote on election day to hopefully avoid confusion statewide.
Sure,
so
sure.
we have a lot to.
And one of the things that you mentioned was, you keep saying the word county, but that's very important.
Yes.
Maggie, you've had someone, and maybe more people, show up from different counties and saying, well, wait a second, I thought I could vote anywhere,
Right.
but it has to be within your county.
That's right. And, you know, in all honesty, ever since early voting started, I remember even having this type of issue, especially in 2008, you know, with this historical high turnout year, and people are really jazzed about voting. And I remember the first day of early voting at our UNM location, a gal from Rio Rancho saying, oh, but I thought I could vote, you know, anywhere during early voting, right? So it is something I think that, you know, people hear a lot, and so they think, you know, I can go anywhere. But yeah, I do encourage voters, you know, make sure they check in advance, you know, where, you know, with their county clerk. Obviously here in Bernalillo County, we do a lot of advertising and things like that, and that's obviously not necessarily true in all the other counties. So check first, make sure you're going to the right place.
And it's a little bit compounded by the fact that we have basically one media market as far as television is concerned for the entire state, with the exception of Las Cruces and sort of that little chunk out of the east. And so everyone is seeing these messages that are applicable to only a portion of the population.
You're exactly right. I mean, we've had calls from, I think it was Chaves County Clerk's office saying, could you all please do something? They're advertising here that we have voting convenience centers. And what it was, I think it was an advertisement about Bernalillo County voting convenience centers. So it's great. It really is good. I think it's a great thing to offer the opportunity for voters to vote at the VCCs, as we call them, voting convenience centers. But I think that we're going to have to do a lot more education before and informing voters that it's not happening everywhere.
Wanted to touch a little bit on the League of Women Voters Guide.
Great.
You recently made a decision to tell county clerks to remove those, saying that they constituted electioneering, which is offering a specific position too close to the polling place or in the polling place during voting. Talk to me about the law behind that and that decision.
Okay, and let me just say, this came about, I'm going to say, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when early voting had started. Maybe we were in early voting 3 or 4 days. I began receiving phone calls, and my staff began receiving calls from certain people saying, you know, I went to vote and I had this voter guide that was handed to me, and is this campaigning? And initially we said, you know, no, those are the League of Women Voter Guides, which I have to say, you know, I appreciate what the League has done in sending out questionnaires and trying to get candidates to respond and informing the electorate out there. But as we began receiving phone calls from people, what we normally do in the Secretary of State's office, we have said all from the get-go, we are doing our very best in the office to assure that elections in New Mexico are conducted fairly, accurately, and in accordance with state law. The letter of the law is what we try to follow. So we contacted our legal staff, and our legal team came back with the opinion that under a new law that went into effect in 2011, under a Senate bill that was introduced, it was a large bill that related to elections. There was some language put in 2011 that was specific to electioneering at the county clerk's office or the any alternate polling location that basically said that there could not be electioneering there. So our legal team determined that because it contains campaign material, in other words, some candidates who were asked questions, one might respond and the other one might not have responded. So you have a campaign information from one candidate, but maybe not another in a race. Or, for instance, the back of, I guess it was the back page that has thanking the league, thanking those persons who might have sponsored it. There's candidates on the back, and some felt that that was an endorsement of that candidate, and so on. So the opinion of our attorney was it does constitute electioneering. So at that point, we were given instructions from our attorney, or recommendation, that we should just ask the county clerks to remove them from the polling places and from the county clerk's offices, and ask that they, at least if they're going to distribute them, that they stay 100 feet from the polling place, which is what the law requires. And then as we looked further, we found that there were only 4 counties that actually have the guides, the voter guides, in those counties. So there were the larger, of course, Albuquerque, I think it was Doña Ana, I'm going to say Los Alamos, and there was another.
This is Maggie, this is an organization that they've really tried to be nonpartisan, and that's their goal. As you said, they're sending out these questionnaires and asking for responses. Right. If you don't respond, you don't respond. Have you heard from the league? Are they planning to do something different? Are they planning to say to the legislature, hey, could you tweak this law?
I don't know what the league's plans are. I have talked extensively with the league as this process has gone on, because historically in Bernalillo County we have provided the guide. Of course, this is the first year that it seemed to be put into question, and I know that Diana's attorneys in the AG's office relied on the new law about electioneering within the clerk's office. The definition of electioneering has remained static, and so I think that both Diana's attorneys and mine looked at it, took a broad look at the definition of electioneering. Often there's a better safe than sorry mechanism that kicks in. I think this is one of those cases. I don't think it's clear based on the law that this is electioneering, but it's one of those right up against the line things, and you would rather not have it, maybe influencing a vote rather than the opposite. So I don't know what the league is intending to do. Certainly, it would be up to the league if they wanted to maybe introduce some legislation to clarify, that a nonpartisan guide, done in a certain way, et cetera, might be something permissible within the polling place.
Okay, let's get to election night, as we have a few minutes left here.
Okay.
The big question, Maggie, that I have for you is, as we being these people who focus with this laser-like intensity on results, as we look at the results, we see voting centers come back. We don't see precincts come back, and that's so often. No, for the sake of convenience. But
yes.
This eventually does get sorted into precinct. Did you find during the primary that people tend to vote in a voting center that's pretty close to their precinct?
Yeah, the primary actually really bore out what we kind of already knew from looking at early voting sites in the past, and that is that about 75% of voters are going to vote close to their home. And it's logical. They drive by the sites every day, they see it, they see the signs, they see it advertised, and about 25% of voters vote somewhere else, downtown, near where they work, near where their kids go to school, what have you. So when you are seeing those vote centers come in, and you're seeing the vote center from, the northwest side, or you're seeing the vote center from the northeast side, or what have you, you're largely seeing a fairly homogeneous group of votes coming in from those vote centers. So you can use that as a little primer on election night when you're trying to figure out whose votes those are coming in.
Absolutely. Getting those results faster. There's always this push for faster results. What have you done since the primary?
Well, and let me please point out that my job as the county clerk is to make sure that everything that we get in is accurate. I mean, that's my number one job. I do understand, though, that people want to know the outcome. They want to know the outcome of races. And I think that it speaks to people's perception of the integrity of the election process to get those numbers in quickly. I think when they see numbers kind of dribbling in, they start worrying, are there problems? So I'm certainly sensitive to that. We have developed a new process for the general, and mind you, in the primary, very first time we'd ever done this, didn't know how fast it was going to take. I envisioned a trickle sort of throughout the night like we'd always had. Didn't happen that way.
Sure.
So this time, basically what we do is we have one person in charge of closing down those machines, getting those results straight to downtown where we tabulate them. We have another person in charge of handling the rest of the election returns. It's something we reviewed with Diana's office. Everyone was in agreement. This is a great way to handle it, and it'll be faster.
Sure, and it's the nature of New Mexico. I mean, we have some very urban type counties, and then we have, times when you're waiting for the results from Roy, or like you said, from Weed, or someplace like that.
That's right.
How are counties doing, some of the more rural counties? How are they doing with results?
Well, we made a lot of changes over the years in the election code to help in that area. And a lot of the rural counties have the ability to send what we call special messengers to get those to be there at 7 o'clock to do exactly what Bernalillo does, just at a closer range here, but to drive those from Cienega, which is over in El Paso, really, or Tiburon, to get.
Sure.
So a lot of the clerks, what they're doing, and they work really, really hard, I have to say, to try to get all this organized and ready to get to the results to our office. So a lot of them will hire special messengers. A lot of times they're sheriff's deputies or somebody deputized, whatever, and they'll be ready right there at 7 o'clock to fly those things back down to the county clerk's offices, fly in their vehicles, as they're the only ones who can do that.
Sure.
So the clerks are working really, really hard to assure that under the law they use the process available to them to get those results to their offices, and then the moment that they do, we have set up a process in the Secretary of State's office working with each of them where they will be reading those cartridges, the cards from the systems,
right,
immediately as they, so they have 44 precincts.
You're
if they
getting
get
them
5
the same
in,
time
they're
they
going to
are.
start getting those in
Okay.
immediately, not waiting until they're all in. Because as Maggie said, we know there are candidates, family members, people out there that are just waiting for those numbers. And so I think she's absolutely correct as far as accuracy, though. We all want everyone to understand that we are all about accuracy in this, especially as election results come in. They should be accurate. So I think people would rather wait 30 minutes or a little bit longer to know that we're doing the job and getting accurate results rather than just throwing a number out
Sure.
that's going to change.
You hate to go
so,
back and
So
change
yeah, all of the
About
clerks.
2,000.
Yeah,
Exactly.
The clerks are really out there preparing as we speak. I used to say when I was a county clerk in Otero and all the years in the Senate and now as Secretary of State, I've always said it's amazing to me how people all over New Mexico think that you wake up on election day, you go vote, and it just happened. They don't realize the number of hours, the hard work, the dedication,
Sure.
commitment it takes from so many election officials around the state. And I have to say, working with the 33 county clerks, every single one of them and their staff, they have been diligently working day and night, probably little sleep, to make sure that it just appears that way to everybody. On election day, it's going to work great. Everybody just gets there and it's just happened. It's magical.
Right.
But it's always been amazing to me that people just don't realize
Sure.
what's going on as we speak today and the work that's going on to get that done. So I think election night we're going to see some numbers coming in
Right.
slowly, gradually, and something that people can look to. But I also want us to just make sure we have whatever the county clerks need. We're going to be there to provide them whatever support they need to be able to get those accurate results in on election night. So I'm hopeful it's not too late, but I'm like everybody else. I want to know who's winning
Right,
too.
and I'm sure
So,
you both wouldn't mind
we're
getting
anxious.
some sleep eventually too.
That'd be
So-
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. We
appreciate it.
really appreciate it. Lots to do. So
Sure.
thanks.
Thank you for having us.